Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by my esteemed colleague, Joe Payne of the Las Vegas Advisor. We are coming to you in the rare, actually post-game edition after Game 4 of the Golden Knights series against the Colorado Avalanche. We should probably just jump right in. The first cliche is you don't have a series till someone loses at home. Well, in our last episode, we said that the Golden Knights needed to hold serve, and the Golden Knights held serve. 2-2, Game 5 in Denver. Tell me about the Fortress, and tell me about Games 3 and 4 for the Golden Knights.
Well, a couple of things. Holding serve was one thing, but the way they held serve, Eddie, they completely dominated the Colorado Avalanche in these last two games. Outplayed them, outworked them. Their forecheck was relentless. If you would have asked me, I know I'm a Vegas Golden Knight fan, but I'm a hockey fan. If you would have asked me who the better team is right now, it's clearly the Vegas Golden Knights. And I believe the Vegas Golden Knights are now in the heads of the Colorado Avalanche. I think they're starting to wonder, can we beat this team? And today, and I know we want to talk about games 3 and 4, but today, Grubauer did not look invincible like he had been in the previous 3 games. Today he was soft. He gave up 5 goals on 35 shots, and while he's giving up this many goals, the Vegas Golden Knights have completely bottled up and contained this high-powered offense of the Colorado Avalanche, only allowing them 18 shots in this game, and I think they had a similar amount.
I've got the stats.
Yeah,
I've got the stats for the last 3 games, and they're pretty staggering. One of the keys that we discussed in the series when the series began is Grubauer playing, above himself? I mean, yeah, he was. Yes, he plays for a great team. But we always thought that there really was an advantage for the Vegas Golden Knights in net, regardless of who they played in net, Fleury or Robin Lehner. I think what you saw was, you know what? Maybe he's not as good a goalie, and he's a product of an incredible team and an incredible system. He's never really been in a position where he's had to steal a game, and the pressure is mounting. So we'll go over the stats, kind of breeze through them. The last 3 games, 119 to 63 shots on net.
That's crazy. I did not know that. I knew it was pretty
crazy, staggering, yeah. Crazy. But more important than that, and I took a screenshot of it from the TV machine there.
You mean you watched the game on NBC?
Yeah, on mute. Okay. The stats that we're going to talk about are, these are significant because they'll lead us through the rest of the conversation. In the last 3 games with Colorado's top line versus Vegas Golden Knights top line, 24 minutes and 52 seconds head-to-head time. Vegas Golden Knights 20 shots, Colorado 11. Scoring chances, Vegas Golden Knights 18, scoring chances, Avs 10. High danger scoring chances, Vegas Golden Knights 9, Colorado 7. Blocked shots, 13 for the Golden Knights, 2 for the Avalanche. The other great, you could easily, I think, make a case Vegas should almost be going back to Denver up 3-1, looking to close them out.
Very easily. If that slashing call, the soft call on Riley Smith in overtime, we don't know what would have happened if they didn't make that call. But the point is,
at that time at that time the tide had turned.
Yeah, Vegas was already coming on, had taken control of the second and third periods, and Vegas is showing what a championship team has to do when their backs are up against the wall. Colorado, who pretty much everybody's giving a pass to the Stanley Cup Finals is showing that maybe they don't have what it needs to face some sort of adversity. Now, Brandon Saad, post game tonight, said, "Well, we didn't come in here expecting to win both games."
Then why show? Then why show up? Shut up, you liar!
Exactly.
Stop
You know,
it. Just stop it. That's so far out of
in the
pro
Colorado,
speak.
I know,
Stop it.
and the Colorado coach who pretty much, I don't want to say humiliated.
Oh no, you can say it. He lit their ass on fire after game 3.
After tonight's game, he had a different tune because I guess the humiliating them didn't work. Tonight, he basically said he didn't really find anything bad about his team. He just thought that they got beat, you know, that basically that Vegas got every bounce that they needed.
Well, listen,
They needed.
there's only so many times you're going to explode an atomic bomb.
Exactly.
And certainly after game 3, he let one off, and he basically called out Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen and said that, you know, they've outcompeted us for 5 straight periods. Well, we can make that 8 straight periods now.
And that particular line tonight was a combined -6.
And
-6.
here's a fun fact. Gabriel Landeskog hasn't had a shot on goal in the last 2 games. And McKinnon had, I think, 3 tonight, but they were nowhere near the danger zone. They were well outside of the dots. So, you know, I think your point is very well taken. And, you know, in the words of the great philosopher Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah,
well,
Colorado got punched in the mouth.
Colorado's been punched in the mouth more than Logan Paul, who's the guy that fought Mayweather earlier tonight in that silly circus. Anyway, so you know what? It's absolutely on 100% on Colorado to adapt. He's already done a little bit of line juggling. He's already, you know, he started to push buttons, but let's be honest. Colorado has faced no adversity.
None.
Zero nada. And
they caught Vegas in game 1, coming off an emotional 7-game series with 1 day of travel.
Yep.
And they put Robin. Truth of the matter is, they put Robin Leonard in, and you had said that maybe Fleury went to DeBoer and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm a little bit tired." And you know what? That's probably exactly what happened. DeBoer will never tell you that. No. But the point is, I don't think it mattered in game 1 who is in net.
Because they weren't emotionally. They clearly were not emotionally engaged.
They weren't engaged.
100%.
They became engaged in game 2. They got a bad call in game 2, which kind of sunk them in overtime. But since then, the last 8 periods,
it's been a blowout. Not only, I mean, statistically, I just gave you the numbers. There's no reason to reiterate them.
But the last 8 periods does not look like Colorado is the President Trophy winner here. It looks like Vegas is the team that was the President Trophy's winner, and they're playing the 8th seed right now. That's what it looks like. I know I'm biased, but I'm telling you what I see. And now we talk when the game's going on, and you had told me, and I don't hear the NBC feed, but you told me that Eddie Olczyk, who I think, by the way, is a great announcer, but he came down a couple of notches tonight when you told me that after the first period, he thought it was an even period. I mean, what game was Eddie Olczyk watching?
And the Sharpie and Ace, they're like, well, you know, there's still a lot of game, and you know, I expect a lot better out of Colorado. And listen, I'm gonna get in trouble for harping on fans and announcers, so I'm not gonna do it.
You can harp on announcers because they're not tuning in anyway. The people that are going to tune in to watch us are Vegas Golden Knight fans.
Anybody who watched that broadcast has to just shake their head at how hard they're pulling for Colorado. In a game where the Golden Knights blew the doors off the Avs, their first comments post game were, well, you know, I hope Vegas doesn't read too many of their articles because they're going to get a whole new Avalanche team on Tuesday night in their own barn. And I'm like, wait a second, who's writing the checks here? I mean, seriously, who's writing the checks here? We've watched a lot of hockey. We watch hockey together. We've been friends forever. The Vegas Golden Knights stomped a mud hole in the Colorado Avalanche for the last 2 games and 2 periods and walked it dry. And there's no other way really to put it. You know,
it's funny you say that, and you say how the NBC announcers, which I think I'm privileged that not have to listen to them being at the game, but one of our listeners texted me and said to me, Joe, exactly how far is the NBC analysis heads up the Colorado Avalanche's asses? And I just said, I answered her this way: deep, very deep. I mean, it's just,
I don't understand.
What's with their love affair?
Isn't Vegas the better story? Just, in the concept of the NHL, isn't Vegas still the best story in the league?
It's been the best story in hockey for the last 4 years.
Right. So why are they tugging the rope the other way?
I'm going to tell you why, at least in my opinion, why. As much as it's a great story, all these old-time hockey guys are not going to be able to accept the fact. I mean, they still talk nowadays how the expansion draft was rigged in Vegas's favor. No, it wasn't. These teams knew who they wanted to protect and who they didn't want to protect. As a matter of fact, a couple of them said to Vegas at that time, George McPhee, hey, don't take this guy, and if you don't do that, we'll give you this guy, who was a player that wasn't even playing for them. Example, Alex Tuck. Don't take Dunbar, and you could take one of our other players, and if you do that, we'll give you Alex Tuck. So don't tell me about how this expansion draft was fixed in Vegas's favor. No. And you have said this many times. George McPhee fleeced the other 29 general managers.
Murdered them.
If it was murdered him. It was a poker game. He felted them all.
Right. Yeah. Completely. Listen. If the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup, and we get that parade that I used to babble about down Las Vegas Boulevard at night, they should give a ring to Todd Fletcher. Is that his name? The old GM in Minnesota, and the GM in Florida. Because
and how about the GM in Pittsburgh who begged Vegas to take Fleury? If you take Fleury,
we could give Jimmy Rutherford a ring, but I'm thinking more Alex Tuck and Holla and Riley Smith and Marchessault.
Yeah, if you take Fleury, we'll give you a draft pick if you take him off our hands, because we can't afford him anymore, because we believe that Matt Murray is our future. Where's Matt Murray now, by the way? Is he in Ottawa?
He's on the golf course.
Well, he's on the golf course.
It's on the golf course, I think.
Along with the other 24 teams the 8 that got been eliminated and the 16 that didn't make it. That's 24 teams. That's right.
So when we previewed this series, my opinion was the key to the series was who's going to impose their will. Will the Vegas Golden Knights force Colorado to defend? And you know what? Colorado looks a little soft, even though the hits are at 120 to 115 after 4 games, which is astonishing. That's a lot of body, right? The Golden Knights let's throw away game 1. The Golden Knights have trounced them the last 3 games. And it's basically because, in my opinion, that Peter DeBoer committed that he would take a push with Stone, Stevenson, and Pacioretty against Landeskog, Rantanen, and McKinnon.
But it hasn't been a push.
Right. On the score sheet, it's fairly close to a push. And the other thing our good friends at NBC harped about is, oh, what a different series it would be if Nassim Kadri was in the lineup at 2C, and he'll be available for game 7 if it goes that far. Okay, back to the point. The Golden Knights' first line though they haven't scored an immense amount of points, is the reason that they're winning the series. Even though it's 2-2, it's the reason that they're winning the minutes, right? And they're winning the play, and they're winning everything except for the games being 2-2.
And what they've done, especially in the last two games, is they've forced Colorado to try to avoid putting their three top guys against the Vegas Golden Knights top line also. And tonight, Colorado actually had two players that played less than 8 minutes. And what they're doing is they're pretty much just rolling out three lines, trying to avoid the Stone, Pacioretty, and Stevenson line. And what's happening is if you look at the minutes that Vegas played, DeBoer just kept on rolling line after line after line. And here's something that I noticed tonight. In normal season, you never really see all four lines forechecking. Usually the top line, they're your offensive guys. They're not really interested in back checking and forechecking. The last two games, the forecheck from the Vegas Golden Knights has been relentless.
Almost like the first year forecheck.
Yes, it's been
right? Almost like every night of the first year.
They just they are keeping the gaps in a neutral zone tight. They are forcing Colorado to really literally have to work their ass off to get the puck up and out of their zone. And this is where the whole game, but there was one key point in tonight's game that could have turned. And it happened.
The post early in the third period.
No, actually, well, that too. But there was one point. Colorado scored early. I think only on their second shot, they beat Florida on a kind of a fluke play. Shortly after that, Pietrangelo gives the puck away, okay, and sends Tyson Youst on a breakaway.
Right, and he loses the puck.
Yeah, Pietrangelo busts his ass to get back, kind of forces Tyson to probably hurry his shot a little bit. Florida makes a save. If Tyson scores there, we might not be talking about a 2-2 series right now, because if Colorado goes up 2-0, the whole complexion of that game changes. Granted, I mean, the misfit line has just been incredible. Marchessault has he not scored key goals?
Little ball of hate.
Right? He's
the little ball of hate.
He's our Marchand, but he's
right?
not as dirty as Marchand though.
No.
I mean, like last game, he led the whole entire team in hits. Tonight, he had no hits at all. He had 3 goals though.
Right.
You know, he was more interested in scoring tonight.
Well, you know, I'm gonna give some credit to somebody you're gonna be surprised that I give credit to. Did you watch Jared Bednar's post game tonight?
No, I just read a couple of quotes.
He was incredibly candid, and very forthcoming about recognizing the Stone line against his line, and he said they just kept it. If it wasn't them, then it was Marchessault and Carlson, and he didn't admit, but he basically. It's the first time I've really watched a post game with him, and I was surprisingly impressed with his candor, and he was very decisive in saying that he liked his teams compete a lot more, and he liked a lot of things about the game. They still lost a lot of races, and they lost a lot of puck battles, and he made an interesting point that no one else is going to really talk about except you and I. He said they're chipping the puck a lot more, and then it's an all-out race to go get it.
And they're losing the races.
But that's the first time that anybody has acknowledged that the Golden Knights have adjusted their style of play and are playing a lot more chip and chase to start the forecheck, right? And create havoc in the zone.
Right.
I mean, you talked about the time on ice, the fourth line, Reeves and Brown and Carrier were all right about 11 minutes tonight, right?
Yeah,
the third line,
the Bora managed all 12 forwards. He managed their time perfectly. And when you speak about the fourth line, I happen to like Ryan Reeves. I happen to like what he brings to the team. I'm actually surprised he played tonight. I'm surprised he broke up that fourth line. So
all right, we've covered the games enough. Let's talk about the lineup a little. I'm a little surprised that Reeves played. I'm a little surprised that Nick Holden
Yeah, 22.
didn't play,
Right.
because I thought, aside from the fact that I think he had 3 assists, maybe 4, I thought he was outstanding.
Mhm.
And the opportunity to maybe not, and listen, Hagan and Whitecloud have played together all the way since the AHL in Chicago. So there's
Right.
an incredible familiarity to them. But, both of them are wet behind the ears compared to playoff experience for Nick Holden. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, and this is one of the things we didn't talk about it. I thought Reeves would be up next to you in the press box, and I thought Haig would be, and I thought the third pair would be Holden and Whitecloud.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and
When you say wet behind the ears, yeah, granted for the amount of time that White Cloud has played, but he is far from wet behind the ears.
right. I'm just talking. No,
As far as
that's
time,
why that's why I'm saying Haig was who I thought would be the guy who was out.
I thought Haig was not playing tonight, and I was surprised when I saw Reeves come out for the warm-ups, but they had extra guys out on the ice for the warm-ups. I'm thinking right out there and then just trying to throw Colorado a curveball.
How did you like Kolasar on the third line?
Yes, I thought he was great.
Right. I think he adds the grit. And listen, was a tough kid, but he's trying in the pivot. He can't be as much. I mean, it's a nice mix of young, hard, aggressive, and we've given Kolasar a little bit of a hard time a number of occasions for his lack of finishing at the moment, but that's a pretty nice third line with Alex Tuck and Nick Waugh. They got great sandpaper. They can all skate, right? They're all even Alex Tuck, whose defensive game does not get enough airtime from the broadcasters. He's become a much more significant 200-foot player this
Eddie,
year.
It's hard to give Tuck some airtime when you're blowing smoke up McKinnon's ass throughout the whole game.
That's a good point.
It's hard to do that. You can't blow smoke up McKinnon's ass and then just segue into, oh, Alex Tuck's having a really good game, which he once again did. And he played with a little bit of an edge tonight too.
Yeah, he got into a couple of skirmishes. I was worried because in the first period he took that really awkward fall. It looked like he got hit by the sniper in section 300 and took a bad fall but he came right back.
Next year. Yep.
Listen, I like that third line a lot. That we've talked about it all year. What's it going to be? Third line, Alex Tuck, and who are the others? It gives Pete DeBoer another one of those wacky, let's see what Pete DeBoer buttons he pushes. What happens if Janmark's healthy?
I've learned now, and I've always thought that myself and you were a pretty good judge of talent, and I didn't see what they all saw in Kolasar in the beginning of the year, where they would kept on dressing him in order not to have to set him down because they thought he would not clear waivers, and they were right. Because Kolasar
gone.
He would have been gone.
Gone. 0 seconds flat. The first team they're picking.
You and I would always say, "What's the deal? Why are you playing Kolasar for and leaving yourself only 11 forwards and the 13 forwards and 5 defensemen in order to keep Kolasar lined up?" Now we're seeing why. He brings in he is going to be the replacement for Ryan Reeves on this team, and he's going to be a replacement for a long time. This kid has got the same. He's pretty much built almost exactly like Reeves. Here's the difference: and not only can he handle himself with his fist, he can put the puck into the net.
Yeah, he was a very good scorer in junior, and he was also a very good scorer in the AHL. So he will grow into being a finisher. Right. He's just having a little issue every now and then, but his play. He controls the puck in the offensive zone. He's tough to move off the puck on the wall, right? He's learned a little bit from how Ryan Reeves manages the wall, right? Even though it doesn't look like Ryan Reeves is doing a lot, he's wreaking havoc in the corners, and he's controlling the play deep inside the Colorado Avalanche zone, and nobody's tried to hit him.
Players, the Colorado players are avoiding him like the plague. It was almost like he tested positive for COVID. When he's coming down deep into that zone, they do all they can to get away from him. They turn away from the puck.
He's a huge space eater, and and you know, he doesn't always look as graceful as some of the younger guys or everything like that, but he makes the point. He stops the breakout. He continues the cycle deep in the zone, and him and Carrier have been at it for years and years and years, and they're pretty good at it. And it doesn't really matter who they put in the pivot, because those two guys really, they work hard down low, and that eats up clock time, and it eats up the energy of the other team because they're forced to try to move those big bodies off the puck.
And the point you made about you thought Holden should have played instead of Haig, but what we need to mention is McNabb coming back in the lineup was a huge difference also.
And we didn't know anything about it. We heard he was still on the COVID list.
He was on the horizon, as the boys.
Yeah,
he's on the horizon.
He's out there in the universe somewhere.
You gotta love the mind games that these coaches play, trying to not tip their hand at all. You know, he doesn't want Bernard to even know that McNabb is coming in. So yeah, we hopefully he's on the horizon. But here's a question I have for you, Eddie. What do they do when Nosek is healthy to come back? Does he get back into the lineup?
I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Pacioretty's first game back from the injury, I think that Nosek won't have the ramp up time to get up to playoff speed. Now, if there's an injury, yes.
Yeah.
But if the lineup stays healthy, I don't think that he'll have the game minutes to ramp up his body and his legs to be ready to compete. And that's absolutely not a shot at Tomáš Nosek. Not in the least, because the guy is a warrior. Right? He's done everything that they've asked him. He's killed penalties like a champ, but he's been out a long time. He's taken a couple of really big hits, right? And right now, with Patrick Brown playing very well at 4C, I don't see there being a spot for Nosek unless somebody who plays 4C gets hurt.
Well, that was my next question to you. If both were healthy and both had the same amount of practice time and game time, and it came down to you had to fill out the lineup card, and you're Deborah, and you have to choose between Patrick Brown or Tomáš Nosek as the fourth line center.
Probably Nosek.
Okay.
If everything is the same, Nosek's played with them more, and they're equally as versatile, but there's just a little bit more jam to Nosek's game, and he's a little bit more experienced at the NHL level.
Right.
I think is the reason I would go that way.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just think, and what's interesting though is, it's in the playoffs, it's rare when you're into the second round that teams are completely healthy. And then Vegas Golden Knights are not completely healthy, but they're pretty close to being healthy. And so is Colorado. So you're seeing the two best teams.
Could you imagine what if Peyton Krebs wasn't hurt?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well, okay. If Krebs is available, who's coming out of the lineup? Is Brown out of the lineup?
Yeah, because more people can play 4C than can play 3C.
Right.
And I think that Krebs has shown, even with a very super small sample size, 4 games, whatever, that his offensive upside and his playmaking ability, I think the best possible third line that they have is Tuck, Krebs, and Janmark. And that pushes Nick Waugh down to 4, and it may very well end up looking like that next year. Pushes Nick Waugh down to 4C, right? And it depends on what they do with Reeves having 1 year left at 1.75, but if Krebs turns out to be what we expect Krebs to be, he's a legitimate 3C minimum, right? 3C with a bullet, with a
Yeah, but you know
upward
what? There's
going arrow.
exactly what you just said. You can just substitute the name Cody Glass from, and you were saying that last year. If Cody Glass can just fill in, we can get rid of Paul Stasny. We can unload his salary, bring Cody Glass in, and he can be 3C. Well, we know how that worked out. So
Well, the circumstances are different, and we shouldn't really get into ragging on Cody Glass because we both,
no, we're not
because we both agree that he got, I don't want to say he got the short end of the stick, but he wasn't developed the way that he normally would be.
He was right.
If the situation were more
because of the salary cap.
Right. He would have probably played all of last year in Henderson, and he would have contended for a roster spot. Instead, he was plug-in guy here, plug-in guy there, and he really still to this point hasn't really had much of an opportunity to really develop as a pro player.
And ironically, the two leaders of this team, well, there's a lot of leaders of this team, but the two really standout leaders on this team, which are Pacioretty and Stone, had nothing but high praise for Cody Glass when he played with them. They kept on singing praise for this kid, like this kid is going to be, he's going to be a star. He's just got a good head on his shoulder. And that kind of didn't happen. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it was just.
I just think it's circumstance. I really do. I think it would be terrible if they moved on from him because he could come back and haunt them. But they've got $81.5 million to spend, and they have Alec Martinez and Janmark and a couple other smaller deals that they're going to have to deal with. So, this is all their chips are in the middle. This is the definition of win now.
I don't want to get too far ahead here in this series, but since you mentioned coming back to haunt them, if Vegas happens to get by Colorado, and I think, and I told Steve Kopp tonight in the press box before the game, I told him whoever wins tonight is winning this series, and I firmly believe that, still do, but which sets up a match that you might, and you know where I'm going with this, right?
Of course.
Nick Suzuki. I mean, the kid is just lighting it up in Montreal. Wouldn't that be ironic if he was the reason or one of the reasons? I mean, because Price is just playing. Price is probably the best goaltender right now in the league. He's just playing. Now, is he facing the Winnipeg Jets, who might not have as much offensive power as the Colorado Avalanche or the Vegas Golden Knights? There's an argument for that, but the point is.
But I'll tell you, your point's well taken, and I'm glad to see young Mr. Suzuki is doing very well. It was unfortunate that he got chummed into that trade, but let me just say this. There's one thing in hockey that you can't teach. You know what it is? Size. You know who the other person that went to Montreal in the trade was? Tomas Tatar. Yeah. You know where he is?
He's hurt now, right?
I think he's a healthy scratch.
You think so?
I think so. I'm not positive. The point that I want to make is the significance of this is Nick Suzuki will never be Cody Glass's size. He'll never be 6'1", 205, 208, whatever. He'll never be Peyton Krebs size. He'll never be a bona fide big boy NHL player. Now, he may score to the moon, right? But I also have a lot of experience watching Tatar play in Detroit. And when the ice got small in the playoffs, he became the invisible man. He should have had a movie deal. He was so invisible.
Claude Rains.
Yes, exactly. So my point is, the Golden Knights did what they had to do to get rid of Tatar, to get Pacioretty. Suzuki was, the collateral damage they probably didn't want to get to. But if you look at the picks, Glass, Suzuki, and Brandstrom, 2 of them are undersized,
Yeah.
right?
And,
And one of them is an NHL body.
and playing in the most heaviest division in the NHL. And
Right.
I asked McPhee that when he made the trade for Brantwood, and that included Brandstrom for Stone. I asked him, did Brandstrom's size come into play? Were you offering him up because you knew because of his size that he was probably going to get bounced around a lot in the division? Of course, McPhee kind of didn't really answer that question, said no, but my question to you is that I have a feeling that when the Pacioretty deal was going down, they might have asked for Glass first.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I everything, every dollar I have, they absolutely will never. It's another one of those we'll never know.
Vegas counted with Suzuki, and
Right.
they just said, okay, we'll take him.
Right.
Now we look at it and go, but like you said, would Suzuki be able to do what he's doing now
Amongst the trees in the Western Division?
Yeah, all
No.
the big surge trees in the Western Division.
No.
Probably not.
No. We have one little ball of hate, and then a little bit bigger ball of hate with Chandler Stevenson, right? But then you get into the Redwoods,
Yeah, there's some big boys on that team.
right? And Marchessault and Stevenson both they punch way over their fighting weight, right? We would agree with that.
Marchessault plays like he's 6'2" and weighs 225.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to slug it out either.
No, he's got to reach up to hit most people, but still,
Let me step on the bench here.
I mean, he took a couple shots at Greenway in the Minnesota series.
Yeah.
That was a legitimate 8-inch height disparity in that
Greenway was
fight.
like, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Not stopping him.
No.
Okay, 2-2. The Golden Knights held serve. It's the best of 3. What do you expect in Game 5? Now that Bednar has the last change and he's had his ass handed to him for 8 periods in a row,
I'm going to tell you.
They have to adapt.
I was going to ask you what adjustments did you think Colorado was going to make, but I don't think Vegas really has to make any adjustments because they've proven
None.
that it doesn't matter if they play their game,
They'll win.
They'll win. Plain and simple. And then when they play the game, they're very 2 evenly matched teams. You know where the difference happens?
5 on.
No,
well, and then
on either end of the ice.
And 5 on 5.
Well, 5 on 5, yes, of course.
And 5 on 5.
But the key is, if you give me choice of Fleury or Grubauer, it's not.
No.
Yeah, that's where I think. Yes, Colorado's going to have the last change. Colorado's going to be able to match the lines, but DeBoer has shown.
But they had the last change in Game 2.
Yeah.
And was it Bednar's ego that just said my guys are going to outskate your guys? He can't adopt that going into Game 5, or they're going to get slaughtered.
You know what, Eddie? Here's what I think. I think them sweeping St. Louis was actually bad for them.
Oh, I agree. They haven't faced. We talked about it, not ad nauseum, but a good bit.
They faced adversity for the first time, and they failed.
And the Golden Knights faced adversity for 7 games and got battle tested.
Found a way to beat Minnesota.
Right. And now they're already at their level. I agree with you 100%. If I'm Pete DeBoer, I say, listen, here's the game tape. Repeat. That's all I do. I push play. I do exactly the same thing over.
I'll tell you what's going to be key to what DeBoer's mindset is. Who he starts on Tuesday night. Who the first 3 forwards are. Because he knows that they're starting McKinnon. They're starting the top line. And normally DeBoer starts the 4th line. Has always been, except
yes, but not happening.
No, he's going to happen.
He's going to stick Stone so far up McKinnon's ass that he's going to be burping Stone beer.
Yeah, if you don't think it doesn't make a difference who you play your top boys against,
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I think that'll be, you'll know where DeBoer's mind is when you see what players are on the ice for the national anthem. Then
No,
you'll know.
he's coming out punching. I think DeBoer has found the key, and I think he's going to. It's going to take an act of God for him to make adjustments, because what he has works. There's no other way to put it. It was either the big bad Vegas Golden Knights muscled the Avalanche and won, or the Avalanche skated free and they won. We've now seen 4 games of it, 12 periods in a few minutes, right? And 8 of those periods were decisively Golden Knights. It's beyond a statistical comparison, beyond any kind of anything at all. The Golden Knights have dominated the last 8 periods, and Bednar has now been punched in the mouth. I mean, what if he breaks up that top line?
I don't think he'll do that.
He might not have a choice. He's got these prime scorers.
No, he, you know, you're saying you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I don't think he can break up that line.
Well, his first adjustment was in the middle 6.
If he breaks up that line, he's admitting that Vegas has the best of them. If he's trying,
but Vegas does have the best of them at this moment.
Right.
At this moment, Vegas is the better team. How'd you like to have plus 500 right now in the Golden Knights?
Sweet.
Right? Avs -7, Golden Knights coming back 500 the other way. How'd you like the best of 3? Right? After game 1, the price in the Golden Knights went through the moon. And then when they lost in overtime, it got even fatter. Now it was sitting at 500.
And we made the predictions. We did a podcast before this series started, and you picked the Knights in 6, and I picked the Knights in 7. I'm starting to like your pick, because if they win on Tuesday night,
done.
There's no way
Done.
Colorado comes into the Fortress and even has a chance.
No, that if they win in Denver on Tuesday night, their spirit is broken.
Right. And
their invincibility.
Vegas has got a bite of the apple, but
no.
Vegas can afford to actually, I don't really want to say this, but Vegas can afford to lose on Tuesday night and still have a legitimate shot to win the series. If Colorado loses Tuesday night, you might as well just bury them in a desert somewhere. They're done.
Well, we've yammered on for 45 minutes.
We're done.
We're done, but we have to make a prediction. We were close. I had 5-2 in game 3, and it was 3-2. But
I had nothing.
So game 5, Tuesday night, Denver. Bednar with the last change. You want to make the first prediction or the last prediction this time?
I went first the last time.
You keep saying that, but okay. Okay.
I go first. I will.
No. I'll go first. I think that Grubauer's confidence is a little bit shaken. So I'm going to say 4-2 Vegas Golden Knights in game 5.
I'm calling for the exact same score in game 6.
I mean, game 6. In game 5 or game 5 in Denver?
Game 5. 5-1 Vegas.
5-1. You think they're going to keep lighting Grubauer up?
Oh, yeah, he's done. He's demoralized.
So we both have the over because it's going to be 5.5. Right?
Yeah, it's not going. This line is never going to 6.
Right. So 4-2 and then 5-1. Those are your predictions that you can go to the dollar store with. Yeah, it's about all we're worth.
It's about all it's worth is the dollar.
About all we're worth.
And if you have a 2-for-1 coupon,
bring that. We're gonna wrap it up. I guess we'll come back after game 6. It will either be prepping for game 7 or we'll be prepping for it looks like the Montreal Canadiens are going to be the first team through, the team that was the last team in, and they've got the fever.
Do you have any, I know we want to wrap this up, but do you have any idea, are they coming across the border to play?
Yes, happened. It happened today, actually.
Did they
they-
announce it?
Yes. The
Tell me what's
Canadian
going on.
government was, I don't know what the word is. Shit. They were kind enough to allow the
Oh, they allow
Canadian
US
team
teams to come in?
and yes, and they have to be in sort of a modified bubble while they're there, and there's no contact with the public,
Oh,
which
so,
is not really much different than what they had most of the year
so
anyway.
there was talk that the Canadian team was gonna have to come into the US.
No,
That didn't happen because I
no,
thought
no.
they could come into Arizona.
no, the pretty boy prime minister decided that hockey was important enough that he's going to make an exemption only for
Pressure was he under?
the King Kong sitting on his head.
Is he up for re-election?
I don't know. I know nothing about Canadian politics. They eat mayonnaise with their French fries. So who wants to even know about
Do
that?
they put pineapples on their pizza? Oh, wait a second. You put pineapple.
I do.
That's, you know what?
Speaking of which, I'm ready to collect mine.
That's sacrilegious, by the way.
I know. I understand. If I was Italian, I would agree with you, but I'm not.
You're
That's
not.
it. We're done. We're out of here. 2-2, the biggest game of the season again, but this time we don't think it's a must win. We think that the Golden Knights have the advantage in the series. Certainly between the push the buttons.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe.
Those buttons are good though. They see when you watch the podcast, they pop up, like and subscribe and stuff like that. Please keep doing that. We're going to try to, we'll get back to you after game 6. And like I said, we'll either be previewing game 7 or we will be previewing Montreal Canadiens series because they will be the lowest seed for sure. And the Golden Knights or Colorado opponent is definitely the winner of the Canadian division.
So if so we're not coming back after game 5. We're coming back after game 6. Is that correct?
Yeah, after game 6. So it's Sunday, Tuesday. We'll be back on Friday probably. They're going to go Tuesday, Thursday. We'll be back on Friday.
Okay.
That's it. Thanks, everybody. A couple of old guys signing out. It's 11:56 here in Las Vegas.
Yourself, by the way.
Yeah. Sure. It's almost midnight. It's past one of our bedtimes.
And it's you whose bedtime is past.
That's it, folks. We're
All right,
out of here. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
got to go.